Yeah. So, let's talk about this because the same advantages you're enjoying in your pursuit of ultra running have huge benefits beyond it in terms of other aspects of your life. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, again, having a schedule that's just all over the place. I don't know when I'm going to be able to eat. Obviously, I'm dealing with work, kids, family, and athletes that I'm coaching. So like even mood, like I'm always has to be there. And I like the running keeps me level, but it's the diet that I think really keeps me even keeled across the board. I'm able to do these things on these amazing efforts on just so little calories throughout my day. It's like I don't have to worry about eating breakfast. I'm never like getting that starvation mode.
Right, you eat when it's time to eat.
Right, exactly. And then and it's kind of like we've talked about, like feast or famine. It's sometimes only dinner.
It's feasting and fasting, really.
Yeah.
It's not
exactly.
feast or famine. It's feast and fasting.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm always, I have a big dinner every night. That's the one thing. Eat plenty of protein, tons of vegetables.
When we say protein, it's like when I came over there and we talked about, but we talked before, and I came to your house several years ago. But it's basically some sort of red meat a lot of times.
Yep.
Some vegetables. I'm sure there's chicken and fish and other.
Yeah.
But it's whole food protein sources.
Yeah, that's it. It's whole food proteins, whole food vegetables, all the oils I use, olive oil, butter, avocado oil, that sort of thing. And then, I season the shit out of everything. So
you got plenty of sodium.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm putting in big efforts, going up mountains all the time, and obviously eating a whole food type diet, you're not getting in a lot of sodium. So I make it a point to get it on my food. But yeah, I feel great all the time. And again, I don't generally eat breakfast. I'll have a coffee in the morning, and I'm normally set. If I do eat something mid-afternoon, it's probably like 1 or 2 in the afternoon, and just something small just to hold me over dinner.
Yeah, and also with the erratic work schedule, this metabolic state allows you flexibility. It's like you can go into an operation even if you haven't eaten, and maybe even take a Vespa and just get hydrated, right? Some water and LMNT in a Vespa, and you're good for, say, a several hour operation, because sometimes these orthopedic surgeries can take a while, right?
Yeah. You never know how long. I mean, generally they should only be an hour or hour and a half, but sometimes you're in these long revision cases and you don't know how long they're going to take. So, and then, aside from just the surgery itself, like we have like setup that we have to do for it, moving implants from one hospital to another, instrumentation, that sort of thing. And then I have the whole clinic side. I have to go into clinics, upload CT scans so we can have like patient specific models made for them. So there's just a lot of ins and outs in that. So I don't have time to think about eating. I just focus on the work, and then when I'm done with the work, then it's like I haven't eaten anything today, or it's almost time for dinner. So, and that's, to me, that's a great way of. I love it, going through life. I don't want to worry about what I'm going to put in my belly or when I have to put it in my belly. Just regular.
Yeah, and before you started on the whole Vespa FM program, you were using the more, shall we say, the more conventional approach to ultra running. How was it?
I had a horrible diet. It was terrible. I mean, I was working out a lot, but I wasn't really eating as clean as I should be.
But dude, did you notice the ups and downs? Did it make life a little bit more challenging and more emotional? And
sure, I think I tell people all the time, you don't know how shitty you feel because you feel it all the time.
Yeah.
And then you break out of it, and then you're like, okay, and like I feel it now more when I
get off the wagon. Yeah.
Get off the wagon.
Yeah, the occasional beer and pizza with friends.
Yeah. Like after a big race, not right away, but like a couple days after. And it's like when I was in England, a couple days after,
Oh
we
God,
went
the
to,
English food.
yeah, so great.
So great
No,
not.
no, we went to Camden Market. It's this huge like shopping, area, and like I loved it because my sister and all my family was there, and everyone just went shopping. And I hate shopping, but I love food. And they just have restaurants, just like food trucks and everything. And I just ate my way across that thing. It was just like I'd have a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I finally gotten my appetite back, and I'm like, I'm going to enjoy it because I'm here, and this is my cheat time. But
Fasting and feasting.
that's right. But yeah, God, did I feel awful the next day? Just absolute shit. But yeah. So yeah, I do think that you really need to kind of go through the OFM method to kind of realize like, okay, this is how I should feel all the time, and then break away from it for a bit. And then, it's like cutting stuff out and then reintroducing it.
Yeah.
You quickly find out this is not good for me.
No, and back in the early days when I was working with the early adopters, one of the first ones was Jenny Capel. When Jenny came to me, John Olson sent her to me, and I told her, you got to get rid of the bread. She goes, I can't get rid of the bread. I love bread. I said, no, you got to get rid of it. So I got her off the bread, and we got her transitioned. Yeah. And I said, go have beer, go out. It's okay. Go out and have some beer and pizza with her friends. And then, Monday she calls me back and goes, I'll never do that again.
Yeah.
I mean, not like never, but it's
it hurts.
Yeah. Because now she's sensitized, because you take away all that inflammation, that chronic
inflammation. You feel
inflammation.
it in your joints. You feel it just kind of
everywhere.
And I have some people or like that I coach, and they're like gluten intolerant, that sort of thing. But it's the same reason, like they can't eat the bread over here. You go over to Europe, totally fine. It's all like the preservatives and the crap that's in the food over here. And that's what I mean, I've been thinking about a lot lately, and it's driving me nuts. I mean, you have to be so diligent about looking at a label these days for like what you're putting in your body, and like the way they market and advertise things. And you can buy mayonnaise, for example, it says made with avocado oil, and you turn it over and the first ingredient is canola oil
or soybean oil. Yeah. And then they put a smattering of olive oil or avocado oil. Yeah.
And then what you find out from the food industry is you need like just a tiny percentage that has to be, whether it's labeled whole grain or like, I think it's for whole grain, it's like, it has to be like 51% whole grain. So you can have all the other shit grains in there, and they can still package it as whole grain. It's the same thing across the board.
Well, I think it gets worse than that, because I think like in cereals, they can advertise it as whole grain if they put in processed grain, but they add like the brand back in.
Yeah.
They can do all kinds of sleight of hand tricks.
And that's why I mean, we're screwed if we don't pay attention to what we're eating. And that's definitely why I stick to the whole foods. Like,
because whole foods, you don't have to look at the ingredients. There's no ingredients. It's like a piece of meat or a fish is a fish.
That's right.
Broccoli, asparagus, artichokes, lettuce. It's lettuce. I mean, that's the ingredient, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't take. It's like, and that's the thing people don't understand. And I lose people because the actual science is very complex and dynamic, right? There's a whole bunch of moving parts, but the actual execution is pretty darn simple.
It is. It's like we were on the athlete call, was on Wednesday, and I was listening to you guys, and even like when you start going into like carb counting and like how many grams of whatever, it's like I don't do any of that. I just eat until I'm full, and then I'm like, okay, that's it. That's all I need. But I make sure I get the right food, get the right, the right cruciferous vegetables, the right carbs, the right protein. And so.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like the guy who was asking about that, and I was talking to Quick, he's got that metric mind. He has to have a set thing. It's like, your body doesn't work that way. Your mind actually doesn't work that way. Your conscious mind does. But if you're trying to track all these things in a metric driven thing, you'll drive yourself nuts.